down, we'll never come down. When the sun comes up, we'll be feeling how we do right now. My heart's on fire, coming down to the wire. While the world sleeps, we'll keep burning brighter and brighter. Me and
Morning everyone, thanks for joining us. We're quite excited to be home, even though it's a little bit bleak outside. Urian and I have just spent the last 3 days in Hokitika, and we've been wondering, please don't do that. We've been thinking about getting away for a couple of days for a little while, but we could never decide where we wanted to go. And so we just put some places, we put some destinations in a cup and we drew it out of the hat and ended up going to Hokitika. Took us 6 flights to get there and back. It's super inefficient. Went to Auckland, down to Christchurch, and then across the South Island. We're complete milk snobs because we drink milk out of the vat and it has a very different taste to what you buy in the supermarket. And what do you want to say? And speak loudly.
My mum got a new hunting suit for me.
Yes, she did. Are you wearing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The highlight of the trip was actually the supermarket in Hokitika. We spent so much time there fussing over the milk selection. In the supermarkets in central Taranaki, there are not many good milk options. In Hokitika, they had glass bottled whole milk. So it was pasteurised, but it wasn't homogenised. I can't even deal with homogenised milk. So yeah, there's nothing worse than going away for a holiday and you can't even have a decent cup of tea because the milk is so tragic. But we had great milk in Hokitika. Big thumbs up to people bottling the milk on the west coast in glass bottles. It was an absolute delight. It completely made our cups of tea on holiday, and I'm not a person that can handle a bad cup of tea. So yeah, we're pleased to be home. Anthony, who looked after the farm while Mammy and Pappy were on holiday?
Me and Papa.
You and Papa. Did you have any problems?
Fixed a gate.
You fixed a gate.
And we put the hose on with the blaster.
Put the hose on the water blaster.
And
the other funny thing about going to Hokitika was it was the first time in 4 years that I've actually left Taranaki, and I was starting to realise that I was getting a bit cagey about going anywhere other than Taranaki. So gosh, I was adventurous. I don't think the average person knows quite how difficult it is to sell raw milk or even farmer processed milk or dairy products in New Zealand. Before we had kids, Urian and I spent about a year investigating the feasibility of processing some of our milk into yogurt. The problem we encountered is that the regulations and costs of these regulations don't accommodate scale. So the regulatory costs involved in selling 10 litres a day are probably the same as selling 10,000 litres. We had just wanted to sell yogurt at the local farmers market for fun initially, but the cost of doing that was around $20,000 a year just in compliance. It was a non-starter for us, so every time we see people that have been able to make it work and process their own milk, we think it is a truly amazing feat. Fortunately, while we were away, it was great weather in Taranaki, so Anthony and his pup-pup didn't have to worry about mud at all. However, the minute we got home it started raining, which meant the big mob had to spend the night on the standoff pad. This gave us time to set the day's break up without them making a mess, but they were eager to get their breakfast once we had finished.
I've been chasing peaks and mountains I can't climb, holding out for heroes in the night. I find myself here in the dark. We learn to fight and learn who we are, but I am raised up to face the stars, full of light. And we are wild like a river, wild like the fire in your veins makes you shiver. And I chase the winter out of my mind like the dark in the distance.
They always chase the tractor. Always have a big herd of swallows chasing me around in the winter. I guess whenever I'm feeding out bales, there's always about 20 or 30 of them chasing me around in the tractor. What do you want to say?
I stayed with Papa when my mum and dad was on holiday in the air, going to different countries.
We went to a different country, did we? Is Hokitika a different country?
Yeah.
Oh. This paddock behind me is a paddock we grazed probably around the 10th of June. And it's the 10th of July today, and you can see that there's been quite a lot of growth. I'd say an unseasonable amount of growth, and Urian seen on Facebook, I think it was last night, that the Stratford Demonstration Farm, which is about 15 minutes away from here, their growth rates for the last couple of weeks were 36. Now, I don't think we've had 36 because we get more frosts than they do in at Stratford, but that's a lot. I would budget, my winter feed budgets are all on 9 kilos of growth for June and July. So I'd imagine we're probably around the 20, if not the 25 kilo mark. It's just a guesstimate, but you know, we've had a huge amount of growth for June for us. I'm a big believer in the law of averages, so I think that we could be in for a world of atmospheric pain in the next couple of months. So I'm bracing myself for that. I never thought he'd be a kid that had this problem, but he's got red band boot marks. Show me your boot marks, Anthony. Just stand still. Just stand still. See? He's got the classic red band boot mark.
That's it.
That's a rite of passage for any young lad. I just wasn't expecting it to happen so soon.
Just don't lift it over that.
Oh, it ended up being an absolute moment of genius in terms of planning, that the person looking after our cows and doing the relief milking is a pretty decent panel beater and welder, because this gate here was broken and he was not able to walk past it, which worked out brilliantly. And so Anthony and him welded this up. There's a few cracks along there. We had a heifer jump out of here when we were rowing them up to do the teat sealing and had bent this stay completely off, and this whole gate had bent, so it's all been welded into shape, stays been put up, and so we've come back from holiday and it's just all been done for us. So thanks, Dad. And oh, it even opens. He said we'd notice when we opened it. Hey, get off there, you'll fall down. So now, you know, I think there's just a little bit more to do there. I'm not sure, but she's all in position, ready to go. We've just completed 3 seasons since we first bought the farm, and the toughest part of all of that, so we're just about to start the 4th, and the toughest part of all of it was in that first 6 months since we bought the farm. We had farm owner expenses, but 50-50 share milker deferred income. And so those first 6 months, I think, when we had first bought the farm, they were really, really tight. And we'd decided that we didn't want to run an overdraft facility. Because we decided not to have an overdraft facility, basically, we don't spend it unless we have it. And ever since that period when we were sort of deciding whether or not to buy the farm, I've been a fanatical budgeter, and so I'm always updating my budget. I probably do it at least once a week, sometimes more, just depending on when the bills come through. And I was just working out, I've gone through until January 2026. So what's that? July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So I've gone 7 months ahead, and I include everything in that budget. Everything, every piece of income, every bit of GST, every expense, I put it in monthly cash flow budgets, so that I know exactly what I need to pay next month's bills. And I do that in advance. And generally speaking, the expenses each month are similar each year. So our most expensive months are November and January, because they are the months that have the fertiliser bill. Those are massive. And if that coincides with when we have tax and in-shed feeding, then I have to allocate significant funds to cover that. And because I don't have an overdraft to fall back on, I have to be really on top of it. So yesterday when we got home from holiday, I had an email from Open Country, and it looks like there's been a bit of a downgrade in the milk price forecast. So I'm just going to go through my budget now and update it. By nature, Yoreen and I are doomsday preppers when it comes to milk price. And in other words, we always think that the milk price is going to be dropping, like always. And I've been wrong about that for the last probably 4, if not 5 years. I've been consistently wrong, but I still haven't recalibrated, and I always think it's going down. So now it's looking like I might finally be right about it. But whether or not that stays true, we're trying so hard to pay back our mortgage. And I just like to know in advance how much I'm going to be able to pay off that mortgage. And even if it's only a really small amount, I like to pay a little bit off every month. And some months it's not possible, and some months, it's good. So I think it's to do with being a control freak. I feel very responsible for it financially, so I don't want to give away any control. Whenever we get an update from Open Country in terms of what their forecast milk price is, I just go through and have a little check and update it accordingly. But that has to come down 20 cents. So that's updated. Now what about October? So that's come down 20 cents as well. So I have to update that. Bit of a deduction there, 20 cents. Update that. And like, it's relatively early days, so no doubt it will change. And it changes a little bit every month, or sometimes it doesn't change, but I always like to just update it so that there's no surprises. I mean, it's still a historically pretty good payout if it stays up at this level, but it can easily come down. My natural instinct will say it's going to come down. I always think it's going to come down. So we'll just keep updating the budget